Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kong. Today I'm going over my favorite 5 hooks for bass fishing. And these hooks are going to be from different manufacturers. Let me show you the treble hook box. Now I don't carry this with me. This is the box that I have at the house. And as you can see, there's a lot of hooks in here. There's a lot of hooks that are not in here that maybe should be in here also. But there's a bunch of them, you know, all different sizes and everything. But the one treble hook that the treble hook that I've come to love, and like I said, I've tried all of them, pretty much all of them, with my own money and everything. I've pretty much settled on one brand when it comes to if I can only have, you know, 2 treble hooks, and I feel like the Owner ST36 line of hooks satisfies the need for the trebles. I've won a lot of money on them, and I've lost a lot of money without them, put it that way. And when it comes to treble hooks on crankbaits, that's where you're most likely going to use your trebles. So for trebles, this is going to be my top 5. Okay, so this is definitely number 5. It's going to be this one. It is the size 2. You can see that? Size 2 ST36. Like I said, this is for all of my crankbaits. So if you have like a bigger square bill, deep diving crankbaits, or if you want to like hook it on to some type of a swim bait, like a bigger swim bait, it's a great hook for that. Okay, like I said, DT10 with 2 of those on there, it barely floats them, and they do very well. 5XD, 6XD, it's a good size. Even all the way up to the 10XD. Okay, so some people want a smaller hook on the 10XD because the stock 10XD hooks are too thick, and you don't always get good hook penetration. Like I said, with that hook, I feel like you don't need a lot of hook force on your rod to get them to penetrate, especially on deep dive crankbaits where you're throwing them so far out. So that's a great hook for me. I want a lot of money. I want a lot of money with them, so I have a lot of confidence with them. I've tried Gamakatsus, I've tried VMCs and things like that. And even though this one has a much smaller hook point on it, which means it'll probably dull up a little bit faster, I feel like as long as you keep that hook point sharp, you're gonna be just fine. Just check it during the day, especially if you're throwing it on like gravel, you're throwing it on rock and things like that. Just check the hook points real good, and you should be okay. Like I said, top waters are also good. The size 2, like a bigger top water. The list goes on. So that's why it's a hook. It works in multiple situations. Okay. And then number 4 will be the same thing. It's a ST36 by the size 5. This is a smaller hook. I've come to really like the ST36. It's become my standard hook for just about everything right now. But the size 5 is good for crankbaits, your smaller square bills. It's great for jerk baits. It's good for all your other topwaters, all your little spooks and everything. Size 5 seems to get the job done. So yeah, I really like those. They've become the standards for me when it comes to treble hooks. Are the other companies very good? Are the EWGs really good? And yes, those are pretty good. But I seem to, on the EWGs, the hookup ratio is not as good. And as an all-around hook, I can't recommend it just because of that. So the fish have to be real hungry. Like an EWG hook, I don't recommend on top waters. I almost don't recommend on jerk baits. With the traditional round bend, just an extremely sharp hook point, I could recommend on everything. And that's what these 2 hooks are. I highly recommend them for all your crankbaits. If you're not willing to sharpen them, or if you just need something that's even sharper than a sharpened hook, that's the one to go to. So I really like them. I've been using them for 4 years now. For the most part, I'm always looking for an upgrade, but every time I get one, it's got goods and bads, and I just end up coming back to these. So that's why these are basically my most recommended hooks. Here's the other toolbox that I always carry with me, and this is my box that I carry with the weights. So we got weights and we got hooks in here. Just want to show you guys that a little bit so you guys can see what the heck is going on. So I got some hooks down here, and hooks down here, and I got big weights. I got more weights, jig heads, hooks, and everything over here. All right, but I'm only gonna pick 3 hooks out of this whole pack. Okay. Okay, so let's check this out, right? So I had to only pick 3, right? For the guys that are new to fishing, I don't recommend you buying all this because you're not gonna fully utilize every single thing here. You'll probably confuse yourself more than this doing any good. So I'm only gonna pick 3. These are gonna be my top 3. Here's definitely one of them. This is the VMC heavy cover hook. Mustad offset worm hook. A lot of money on that too. And then also, remember I was talking about VMC hooks? I don't like the treble hooks. I actually like this hook. This is their Neko hook. Let me show you the Mustad hook. This is the offset. How do I do this so the camera can see it? Okay, so this is the hook I'm talking about. This is a 4/0 worm hook, the offset hook. The reason why I like this one is because of this little keeper right here. A lot of times I use this on big worms, and I use it on big brush hogs. And I fish a lot of brush piles with this hook. And a lot of times when the fish bites it, your plastic tends to slide down here and ball up on this point. And you lose a lot of fish that way because you never get. Imagine if you like had too much plastic kind of in this area, and then when you set the hook never penetrates past the barb, and then the fish jumps and it falls off. A lot of that can be prevented by this. Well, actually, is prevented by this because this little keeper right here, it keeps all your plastic pinned at the front, so it can't slide down. So the only thing that can slide is the plastic that's on this point. So it always slides like this. I've won a lot of money on this. And once I found out about this, I never went back to the other hooks. I started throwing offset hooks. I started throwing the owner. It was pretty good. And then my brother was on the Gamakatsu. Pretty good. But then I tried this, and then I never went back. So, like I said, won a lot of money on this. I don't even know if they still make this one anymore. But it's the Mustad. I forgot what the exact name of it is, but I really like this one. The only thing you have to watch out for is this eye. The eye is not laser welded or epoxied or anything like that. So when you tie onto this hook, just make sure you go through the eye twice so that your line doesn't slide around, and you'll be all right. The hook, it just appears to be like a regular hook, but I really like it. Never had a penetration issue or anything like that. Like I said, this is my go-to Texas rig hook. It's a 4/0 Mustad, and I've been using it for about 4 years now, and I highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly recommend this hook. Like I said, big worms. This is the Zoom 10-inch worm hook. This is the Zoom full-size brush pile, a full-size brush hog hook, and the list goes on. You know, you could flip with this hook too if you want. You could drop shot. You could power drop shot with this hook too if you want. So keep that in mind. It's a really good hook.
I have no idea what I did today.
All right. So what about the guys that are like, what about punching? What about flipping? What about, you know, if I don't want to use offset hook and I just want a big hook? That's the hook for you right there. That's the hook for you. The reason why I like this hook, this is a VMC 4/0 flipping hook, straight shank flipping hook. This is good for close combat fishing, basically. I like the fact that this has a really good keeper on it. This is a big keeper. It keeps the plastic pegged all the time. Very rarely would you have the plastic slide down. On a lot of other hooks, owners, Gamakatsus, their keeper is not as big. So even though they do have a keeper, I've actually found that a lot of times when I set the hook real hard, the plastic still slides down. But once I went to the VMC, it seems to be okay. And the other thing was, on the owners, this is feedback from my one of my buddies. He had some of the owners and he was fishing them, and he found out that he lost a lot of fish because breaking breaking off on the hook set because the eye was welded, but it wasn't welded perfectly. So he had a pack that wasn't welded perfectly, and if you just glanced at it real quick, you couldn't tell. But the VMC is using epoxy to seal that gap, and I feel the epoxy is it's a little bit more consistent. So there you go. That's my favorite. The point is sharp enough, and when I'm fishing this hook, it's usually on big line. 20-pound fluorocarbon flip and stick or braid where I'm punching. So this hook, the point is not as sharp as the other hooks. I'm gonna be honest, you know. The VMC hook is probably the last in line when it comes to sharpness, because the owners and the Gamas got this thing beat. I don't have any experience with the Mustads, but this one, if I had to compare those three companies, this one comes in third. But you gotta remember, the only time I'm using this hook is when I'm within, 10 yards of the bait, and I swing that 7.4 extra heavy. It doesn't really matter if this point is super sharp or not, as long as it's sharp, and it is sharp. It's just not super sharp, and it kind of helps a little bit too, because I was thinking about that. And when you put your plastic on this, you actually don't want a super sharp hook, because it comes through when it touches anything. The hook point comes through, but this is more of a thicker gauge wire. The point is pretty sharp, but it comes in at an angle like this versus an angle like this, kind of like the owner, and it doesn't punch through the plastic as easily. So that kind of keeps your baits a lot more weedless. So this is what I recommend for my punching and my flipping. So whether you're on a missile based D-bomb, whether you're on a rage crawl, or you're like any type of other bait, this is what I like. This is my go-to. That was number two. And number one on the list of favorite hooks or essential hooks is actually this guy right here. This is the VMC Neko Hook. This is the 2/0 size. 2/0 size with the little mono guards on there. See that? I like this hook because it's very versatile. I use it a lot on a lot of everything, from drop shot to wacky rigs to Neko rigs, which is what this is actually designed for, right? So in the winter, in the springtime, this is on the wacky rig, right? So the worm, the weightless worm, pitching it around the shallows for bass while they're spawning. This is the deal. I've caught 8-9 pounders with this. It's real good hook, real strong. I've come to really like this hook. This hook is also used in their swim bait heads, the hybrid swim bait heads, and it's awesome on that too. But by itself, it is really good. With the little weed guards on it, it helps a little bit, but it doesn't always do the perfect job. You still get hung up in the wall every once in a while, okay? But like I said, this hook is just good because I can use it on 3 things I've just listed, right? Yeah, usually you throw it on a wacky rig during the pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn, and then once it goes into the summer months, I usually drop shot this, and I put a full-size fluke on this. I basically thread a full-size fluke onto this, and then I might cut this little weed guards off, just because when I'm drop shotting this, I'm in deep water, and when I drop shot this, I don't Texas rig it. Okay, I punch it right through the center and out the back of all the plastics, because it's a fully exposed hook at that point, and this hook holds them really good. Caught a lot of fish on this hook. Drop shot. Okay, so that's a really good hook for that. And for the one reason it was invented, or at least the name of it, is the Neko. The Neko hook is really good. As a Neko rig, it is really good. I fish this on a Zoom Magnum trick worm with a 1/4 ounce head, and I throw it around the rockiest areas, and it seems to not get hung up as much. And I might attest that to these little mono feelers. Some people are gonna say, why would you pick this over the Gamakatsu one, right? Simply because of price. This one's like half the price compared to the Gamakatsu one. The Gamos is so much better than this one, but in terms of price, since you might lose these a lot, you just gotta go with the VMC. The VMC is usually the same performance for about half the price. And that's it. That's my 5, guys. Hope you guys like that. Nice and easy. Hopefully everybody can use a little bit of that information, up their game a little bit, especially if you need some hooks. And that's about it for me, guys. A little bit of a top 5 there. I like you said, I got a bunch of hooks over there, but these 5, I feel like if I'm a new bass fisherman or if I need a new hook for a certain category, these will do it. These will do it. I don't think you're gonna be disappointed. I think you're gonna be just fine with these hooks. All right, guys. See you on the next one. Sub to the channel if you haven't, and leave me a comment if you don't agree with these choices. Let me know. All right, guys. See you on the next one.